Do I have the next live stream date?
We're ready.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us tonight for our monthly live stream, Kankakee Chats. Today is it's Wednesday. We changed our night this month, so different schedule. So I want to just thank everyone for being flexible with me this month as we changed the date. Every month, I host a live stream to give community updates, and we enjoy having guests throughout our community to join us. So joining us tonight is our police chief, Frank Cosman, and Aunt Martha's Senior Vice President of Community Integration and Health Services, Kenny Martin Ocasio. That's a very long title, Kenny.
It certainly is, Mayor. Good evening.
So I just again want to thank everybody for watching from home. Thank you for your flexibility tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and get started with our city updates. So in terms of our Kankakee Police Department, we've had some shots fired calls, and we've had some homicides in the city. And Chief, I wanted to give you an opportunity to address those items.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to mention that we haven't had a homicide in the city since last August. Actually, August 15th is when our last homicide happened. So the first half of this year, since then, we were going very well in reference to homicides. Unfortunately, we had our first homicide this year on July 18th, and that was down on the 900 block of Schuyler, where we had a domestic situation where it was a murder-suicide kind of a situation. Very unfortunate, very sad case, but it's one of those things that escalates, and that's why we take action when we go to domestics. And if there's a probable cause, arrest them, we do arrest them and go into the system where people can get help. Even if you're the victim in the case doesn't want to pursue charges, we still push the case. In this case, we did have an arrest earlier in the year at that residence, but unfortunately didn't work out well for those involved. Then after that, we had on August 6th, we had an unfortunate incident about 10 o'clock at night. Subject was sitting on his on the front porch of a relative's house, 300 block of Rosewood, where unknown person at this time or persons approached him and ended up shooting him on the porch. Hitting him multiple times. He unfortunately passed away before he can receive medical treatment. We're still investigating that. We've got some cooperation from the public, which we appreciate. We're giving us leads. We're following up with that, and we're also having evidence that's at the crime lab that's being analyzed right now. So we are following up, actively investigating that incident. Then on August 11th, we had a double homicide that actually happened on the 400 block of Bourbon A Street. We ended up being called to that building by the management, the rental property there, and we ended up finding a person that was deceased from strangulation in a room. We ended up investigating that. We found out that the subject's vehicle was missing, so we put out the statewide alert on it and put it into the computer. The state police ended up finding the car parked on the side of the Interstate 88 near Dixon, Illinois. Our detectives drove up there that morning, they found it like 3 o'clock in the morning, and our investigators immediately went up to working with Dixon Police Department, and Dixon ended up finding one of the two subjects that was involved in the case in their town. So we ended up going up there. We had another person that was missing from the apartment building, and we didn't know if he was a suspect or a victim. He was reported missing. So we ended up talking to that person that we found in Dixon, asked him about about the situation there, and he unfortunately told us that the other person was deceased and was in the attic of the apartment building that we were at in the first place. So officers, investigators went there, found the subject, hidden underneath some materials in the attic, and we had that. So we kept on following up on it. The following day, we ended up finding out that the subject, the second subject that was of interest, was in town. The detectives and officers responded to the area where he was last seen. They ended up catching him right off of the Schuyler Street Bridge in the area by the river. And they, with the help of a Illinois State Police canine unit that came, and we ended up taking him into custody. Subsequent to that, he was that person was charged with the strangulation, murders of the two subjects, and the first person that we had located was charged with the concealment of the homicide, along with other charges that went with it. So that case is solved. Then, so that's the 4 murders that we had so far this year. So that equals the total amount that we had last year, and that was within a month's time where we had that. So that was unfortunate, very much time period there. We've had a number of shootings, most notably this past weekend, where there was a gathering on Gordon, 700 block of South Gordon, around 3:15 in the morning. We had unknown subjects in silver vehicles open fire at the crowd that was outside. 2 of those very people were shot, and we're investigating that. It's important to note too that earlier in the month, I've warned everybody numerous times, but we had an incident where someone reported leaving a gun in a car a couple blocks away from where this shooting occurred. And I'm not saying that's directly related, but it may be. Guns were stolen from that car that was parked, unlocked car. So you got to secure any weapons that you had. You just can't leave them in a car unlocked. That's almost reckless, and we don't want to have that. So we're not sure if it was retaliation later, but the following day, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, had another shooting on the 300 block of Rosewood, where one person was shot in the lower portion of his body and taken to the hospital. So we're working on those 2 shootings. I would like to note, though, since the beginning of this month, it's not good news, but the officers are working hard out there trying to stem the violence. They've recovered 10 guns during this, since the first of the month, and they've made 7 unlawful use of a weapon arrests. So we are actively enforcing laws and stopping cars and trying to. It amazes me, the pursuits. People will run from traffic stops, officers will chase them, and then also, if they not to have a gun on them, checking the path that they took and finding the guns. When we actually call in the state police now too with their canine unit, who's a newer dog that's trained in tracking weapons, so we're able to utilize them in finding weapons that some people try to hide or by discarding them as they run away. So that'll be useless if you try to do that. The other thing is because of staffing issues with people being injured, and we have 2 officers that just were cut loose from their field training program. Our directed patrol unit will be starting up again, and they'll be emphasizing enforcement on firearm violations. So that'll be our major thrust of that unit. And we also have our shot spotter program, which they're actively implementing right now, finding placement for the sensors with our mental services director working on that on some of our properties. So that should be up and running in the short term. So those are some of the steps in what's been happening in reference to the violent crime in town.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. I wanted to talk a little bit about dirt bikes. We know that there's been a lot of concerns. First of all, when we talk about public safety, all of us have to play a part in public safety, and it's a responsibility of our entire community. So in regard to this issue, I just want to say, and I've said this before, that the reports that I'm getting, many of these individuals on dirt bikes and quads and these types of vehicles are underage, meaning they're like 12, 13, 14-year-olds. And so I really need parents to step up and take some responsibility for their kids. Parents play a role in this. If this is the group that we're talking about, the 12 to 14-year-olds, not allowing kids who are unlicensed, who are underage, who don't know the rules of the road to have access to these vehicles is irresponsible. And so one step that we can take is to have our parents held accountable and to ask our parents to be accountable. I just want the community to know that I have spoken with Chief Cosman regarding this matter. I think Alderman Osinga mentioned it as well during the last city council meeting. And Chief has been doing some research. One of the things that we do a lot as mayors and as people in the administration is you look to your colleagues and people in other municipalities to see what they're doing, because I'm sure the city of Kankakee is not the only municipality that has youth being reckless on the streets with bikes and such. So I had talked with our team about adopting an ordinance that holds parents accountable and to address some other measures. But Chief has done some extensive research. We want to make sure that we look at data. We want to make sure that if we are going to put an ordinance together, that we do it properly, and that does take time. So Chief has shared some updates with me just this week, and I also wanted to give him an opportunity to share those updates with the community. So Chief, the first thing I'm going to ask you to address is the no pursuit policy. A lot of people get really frustrated at the fact that the police department won't chase the youth that are on the bikes and the quads and that sort of thing. I had asked you to pull up the policy, and if you could reference that. And I may have Jasmine put something out for the community just so they know that it's not me saying not to chase, it's not you saying not to chase, but there are guidelines in place that the police have to adhere to in regard to chasing subjects, and there's only certain instances where that can happen. So if you could just talk to the community a little bit about why is there a no pursuit policy?
Yes, pursuits are inherently dangerous to both the police officers and the public at large and the person that's being pursued. In this case, we're already talking about vehicles that are being driven recklessly, and it's already a dangerous situation. A lot of them that are driving this antagonize the police and actually want the police to chase them as part of their daredevil activity that they like. The worst thing is the accidents that happen, and accidents do happen. Not just Friday before last, we had 2 of these dirt bikes involved in accidents in town. So it is a dangerous activity, and we have to do that. But pursuits are particularly more dangerous in that we have to make sure that for us, the officers and the public are safe, and pursuing a motorcycle is not a thing that you're probably going to be very successful at. So you're taking a dangerous situation that you'd be going into and making it even worse by pursuing these kind of bikes. If they will cut through yards, going through alleys. They can make sharper turns than any squad car can, and they can accelerate faster than squad cars can. So we don't have the tools actually to safely chase somebody. And we're talking about youth in most cases, and no one wants to be involved with some youth who makes a bad mistake. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not something that could be pushed off, but I don't think anybody wants it to be something that's going to be a catastrophe, either end of life or put the person into having some major injury that they won't be able to recover from. And it also, officers chasing cars could end up striking somebody, another vehicle, other families, other just people on the street that could get hurt. So there's the best practices, we're a CALEA certified agency. We have CALEA approved policies, and our policy is the recommended one, not to pursue for traffic offenses or for minor misdemeanor crimes. So that's the policy that the police follow, and that's the standard in the industry throughout the country. And that's what every city police department that I'm aware of has as their standard. So chasing that is not really an option. So what are the options? That's the problem. That's what we'll be talking about.
Yeah, and so like I said, Chief has been doing some research. I asked him to look into, are there any ordinances that we can model here in the city of Kankakee in terms of accountability on the parents' end, but also if there's some other steps that we can take in regard to these vehicles. So at this time, if you can share your findings for a proposed plan. Of course, this is something that would need to be discussed with our Public Safety Committee. Alderman Osinga actually serves on the Public Safety Committee as the vice chair. And so I asked him at our city council meeting if he had any solutions that he would like to propose. Again, this is something that didn't just happen this year. Young people have been engaged in these types of activities for a while. But I just want the public, the residents in our community to know this is something that is not something that we would just do ourselves. We would want to discuss this with public safety, our Public Safety Committee, the full city council, and the community to allow the opportunity for everyone to provide some input and share any other ideas. So, Chief, what were your findings as you've been doing some research on this topic?
Well, I find this is a national program. There's incidents, there's problems, Atlanta, on the East Coast, on the West Coast. I've read numerous stories on the subject. Also, that TV show that it's in the Vice show even has a number of videos talking about that and talking about people that actually do this and how they like that daredevil lifestyle and how they get why it's a culture. They find it somehow rewarding to them to be doing these kind of things. Now these bikes and ATVs were made for riding on private property where it's approved. Either we have the owner's approval or they own the property, and the dirt bikes are not made. The equipment on it are not designed for driving on the streets where they're low. It's hard to see. They don't have the necessary reflective materials on them, and so they are just inherently dangerous to be driving on the street. What I did find is a number of towns have ordinances that prohibit the riding of mini bikes, ATVs, and dirt bikes or pocket bikes too on their streets. And so I have talked a few of the points that they have, and most of these ordinances are. The ordinance would prohibit riding them on streets, parks, private property without the permission of the owner. There would be a fine structure for the first offense and then go up for higher. Vehicles will be seized and forfeited to the city, which are then either sold at auction or destroyed, which in my case would probably be recommended they were destroyed. Then the innovative thing that I didn't think of, there was one that, and this is a problem, and this happens, so gas stations would be prohibited from selling gas to any such vehicle that's not conveyed to the property, which would mean it wouldn't be on a pickup truck or on a trailer. So if you drove it in there and the officers see that, not only would they have a violation for the person riding a motorcycle, it would be the gas station that would also be fined for selling the gas on it. The idea is to make it more inconvenient and less likely for people to be driving in the city. And then have signs posted showing that it's illegal to drive the mini bikes and motorbikes at the gas stations. And if there was any, I don't think the town has any dealers in town right now, but they do that where they're sold. We would also, other things that have been looking into, we register bicycles. So I would recommend vehicles being registered, these type of vehicles having to be registered in the city. When I mentioned that we had 2 accidents last year, one of the big things are that the VINs aren't recorded. People don't know because they're not registered. There's no license plates for these vehicles. The VINs aren't reported, they're stolen. Nobody has the license plates. It's hard to track them down when they're stolen and moved around. At least if we had a license where they were licensed, like a motorcycle in our city where they have to get a vehicle license, at least we'd have the VIN number, and you would have to, we'd have something to follow up on when we stop somebody else in the future. So it would cut down the number of them being stolen and driven irresponsibly on the street. And then also make sure there's a clause that the violation would be the responsibility of the parent, be the owner of the vehicle or the parent, and the parent would be responsible for any juveniles that would be allowed to be riding the bikes, because that's how it could really be, situation could be rectified if the parents, if they know about it, they shouldn't let them drive it on the street where it's a danger to themselves and to others. Another idea that I came across was making it insurance mandatory on the bikes too, because when they do ride them, ride them on the street in the city. Who's paying for the damage that's caused if they do get in an accident? And so that's something too that would make the irresponsible driving of these vehicles less likely.
We had a couple questions come in, Chief.
Okay. If I
go
could
ahead.
add one thing before we go there. But that doesn't solve it all. This is a community kind of a problem. Mm-hmm. So we would need the community to get behind in solving this. We can't, since we talked about already how it'd be impossible for the police to pursue it, we would need the community to give us calls where these subjects are driving, where they know that the bikes, and they come out and when they come back, so that we're able to go there and not get into a pursuit, but be able to investigate the situation. And for that, we will need community involvement. So we would also have an effort put into doing public service announcements and other kind of issues, so everyone knows the dangerousness of it, and also that how they can help.
And you kind of addressed one of the questions, because Melanie said, if you cannot control them, what can we do as a community? Ultimately, like I said, these are issues that parents need to be addressing, particularly with these underage riders. So you mentioned that, making sure that if you see them, that you make the police aware of where they are, kind of like a neighborhood watch type of thing. If you see these vehicles and see people, young people out on these vehicles. Carrie asked, going to the kids' home instead of chasing them, is that a possibility, to go to their home?
We've done that, and that's what we would like to do. So that would be, if that's where the community involvement would come in handy, because I'm sure that the other residents down the block all know where the subject that's leaving that area with the dirt bike or the ATV, where they live. So they can call our non-emergency number, or even an emergency number. It goes to dispatch, let them know where it is. It just came home, and they're at this location, and we can go check it out.
Okay, so Carrie, hopefully that answered your question. And then Teresa and David had a good point as well. Teresa says, why not make a safe place for them to ride? Public roads are not it. And then David said, do we have any fields available to create a course or a possible riding area, which are both good ideas. And this was brought up, I know, at least a year or so ago. I know that Gloria Kennedy, who works in our Kankakee School District, has spoken with Dr. Walters, our superintendent of schools, about creating some space. I believe it was out by the junior high school, and I don't know whatever happened to that. So that may be an issue that we pick up again and reach out to the school district to see if they are able to accommodate and provide a course in the field that would make it safe for students, young people to ride. So those are all very good questions. I want to thank everybody for sending in your questions and comments.
Mayor?
Yeah.
The closest one that I found in the area by doing research is in Wilmington. There's a course in Wilmington that has open ride, and people can go there. That's kind of far away, you know.
Yeah, that's about 20 miles away. 20
miles away. So I don't know if you're a youth. You need parents have to be involved again in order to take them out there. or some other way.
Yeah.
And there is probably some areas, but we got to be careful about how you're able to drive your bike to that.
Right, it would have to be transported on a trailer.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I know Deputy Chief Hunt and I think Gloria Kennedy and Dr. Walters had some conversations about this. So I think we should follow up with them. I know Gloria has taken a different position with the school district, but I think she would be a good reference point to reach out to, because she has some ideas and to see where we're at, if they've made any progress, or, you know, I don't know if there was something that stopped this from moving forward. I do remember Deputy Chief talking about the vehicles having to be transported on the trailer. They couldn't ride them on the street to get over to the junior high school if that was going to be the designated location. So I think we just need to follow up and see if that's an alternative at this point, or pursue some other alternatives. So thank you, Chief, for the research that you've done. And Public Safety Committee, I think City Council is Tuesday. Labor Day is late in September. So I believe our first City Council meeting in September is September 8th. And then Public Safety Committee will follow. And you can take your findings to the committee and get some feedback and see what their thoughts are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bike rides. Speaking of bikes, now we're going to talk about legal bikes. So Chief and Commander Austin, Donnell Austin, put together a Light Up the Night community bike ride with City Life, Turn the Wheel, and Country Financial. And everybody had a good time. We've received a lot of feedback where people want to know if we can do another ride. And so I just want to thank the community for coming out to participate. This was a great activity for the police to interact with the community. And I think we're looking to schedule another one, so we'll keep you posted on that. We want to make sure that we maintain our social distancing with activities. So we'll be checking in with Commander Austin to see if we can get something scheduled before the weather gets cold. Chief, I don't want to hold you up if you have some other things to do tonight. I want to thank you for joining us and addressing these issues in terms of public safety in our community. And I'm looking forward to getting some feedback from Public Safety Committee and moving forward.
Thank you, Mayor. It was a pleasure.
Okay. Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay. I'm going to move on to budget update. We did pass our budget during the August 17th City Council meeting. As you all know, I trust Elizabeth Kubel immensely. She's been with the City of Kankakee for 7 years, so she's done a number of budgets here. 3 in the 3 years that I've been mayor, plus 2 amended ones since I've been mayor. And she's got years of experience as a comptroller. The budget, Elizabeth tends to be conservative. We tend to be conservative when we are estimating, expenditures and revenues. And so I just want the community to know that it was really important for us to get our budget passed. It can be amended, as I previously mentioned. I've amended 2 budgets since I've been the mayor in 3.5 years to make sure that the community is aware of what's going on in terms of our finances. So we had a majority of council members that wanted to move forward, and so we did that on August 17th. I just want to thank Alderwoman Malone Marshall. She urged her city council colleagues to address their concerns and ask questions during those committee meetings. That's where we kind of hash everything out. And if there are concerns from any of the council members, they need to communicate specifically what those concerns are during those committee meetings so we can work through matters. So she urged her city council colleagues to do that, and I hope to see more of that as we move forward. We did provide a number of opportunities for feedback. I'm always open to feedback and solutions. Everybody can complain and point out problems, but we really need people that are going to bring some solutions to the table. So I just want to thank the City Council, the leadership of Alderman Carl Brown and Alderwoman Danita Swanson, moving us forward. They wanted to get the budget passed, and so we were able to do that. Our next steps, now that we have a budget in place for fiscal year 21, is to refinance some bonds. We had taken out some bonds several years ago during harsh economic times, and the interest rate was over 5%. Today's market is at about 2.75%. So during July, when we ran rough numbers, that will save the residents about $900,000 doing a refinance of those bonds. So that was another reason we wanted to go ahead and get the budget passed. We also will be able to get some new money for capital projects and public safety departments. So out of our capital, we pay for things like infrastructure, things tied to infrastructure and public safety. So the squads for the police department, the ambulances, fire trucks. We haven't purchased fire trucks in a number of years, and they are getting pretty old as well. We have always, as far back Elizabeth's ledger goes 20 years, paid the engineer. So the former engineer was paid out of capital funds, and he has been paid out of capital funds in my administration as well. One of the things we did change was we moved the planner over to paying out of capital, because our planner, we have a designated planner who is doing urban planning for the city every day and working on capital projects and establishing TIFs and those types of things. So that was one change, but it's consistent with paying the other consultant. The engineer and the planner do not receive a salary. They are consultants. They invoice us for their services every month. We don't pay insurance for them. We don't pay into pensions and retirement and those types of things. So they are consultants. There was some comments made about putting some money into the wish list, the capital wish list, for each ward to get some work done. We have a number of people, I have a number of people that contact me about sidewalks and curbs and alleys and those types of things. And some of the council members were saying that it's not enough money to do anything. Well, I don't know of a city that has enough funding that they can redo all their sidewalks, curbs, and alleys. It's very expensive to do that. And so my approach is that you know, it's like an elephant. You take a bite at a time. And so if we can start addressing some of those issues in the community, I think that would be helpful. So that was another area where some people were pushing back. But again, you know, we have a good budget. It's solid. We know that we were conservative. We know we have reimbursements coming. For example, FEMA has already allocated $48,000 to the city of Kankakee to cover COVID-related costs. We did not include that in the budget. We also have some CARES funding, which came from federal government, part of the CARES Act legislation. And we have been allocated over $1 million for the city of Kankakee. Again, these funds are specifically tied to COVID-related expenses, but none of those revenues have been included in the budget. So we were conservative. Again, we have a budget meeting every month to track our expenditures and revenues, and we will stay on top of that. And if there's a need to amend, we will do so. So I just want to thank the City Council for their efforts in getting this done. And we are going to move forward with refinancing our bonds and getting some additional money for capital, as we have not done that during this term. Most mayors usually bond once during their term, and we have not done that as of yet. I wanted to move also to the homeless update. I want to thank Fortitude Community Outreach. They've done a great job of providing shelter to our homeless in the county, because homelessness is not just an issue in the city of Kankakee. It's an issue throughout Kankakee County, and I think everybody recognizes that. The city of Kankakee, I'm very proud, took the lead last year to make some adjustments to our ordinances that would allow Fortitude to set up a PADS type shelter, temporary shelters throughout the county. And several churches stepped up. I remember Alderman Brown talking about you know, that many people are always calling on the churches to get involved when there's a need, and this was the time to do that, and many of them did, and I want to thank those churches that did that. This year, I guess there was some discussion. I wish the city had been involved on the front end of those discussions, but Fortitude has had some discussions with St. Paul's Lutheran Church, and the church is located downtown in Kankakee at Merchant Street, right across from the Daily Journal. And they are looking to provide permanent shelter at that location. So there's been some concerns, and I just want everybody to know that I have heard your concerns. I've heard from Fortitude. They want to be there because it's more convenient. They don't have to move supplies and such around. I've also heard from our business owners. We had a meeting about a week or so ago, and many of our investors, people who are coming into the downtown business district, have come in and expressed concerns. I wanted to reach out to the library because they're impacted. A lot of our homeless will use the library. Our library is just a wonderful place with very compassionate people that work there, and oftentimes they kind of become the homeless site for people to hang out when they can't be at the shelter. Most times they have to leave at 7 a.m. And so as long as they're respectful, the library has always welcomed everybody. And so I wanted to hear from the library team as well. So this went to the planning board, this request, because Fortitude would need a conditional use permit to be able to establish a permanent homeless shelter at the St. Paul site. So I just want to let the community know that everybody on the city council cares about our homeless, and we are having some very intense discussions about this matter. Even if the city council does not approve, I just want the community to know that Fortitude still has the ability to provide shelter during the months of October through the end of April. That is not going to change. The temporary shelter will remain in place. But at this time, I'm again reaching out to the city council members. This is located in the 2nd Ward, where Alderwoman Gall and Alderman Michael Bryan govern and have jurisdiction. So I have spoken with both of them. And again, everybody is just reaching out. This is a good time. The city council is really reaching out, talking to one another about this issue. So as we figure out, the direction of the city council, we will move forward. And I just want you to know that the city is committed to a comprehensive plan. Fortitude requires their guests to leave at 7 a.m. And that means that the homeless need somewhere to go. They need supports. They need resources during those hours when they can't be in the shelter. And so our team is very committed, and the city council, to making sure that we have a comprehensive plan to address this issue. So there'll be more information coming about that. COVID-19. So according to the Illinois Department of Public Health, Kankakee and Will counties have seen an increase of positivity rates of 8% in 3 consecutive days. This required the governor to announce a mitigation plan that started today to help slow the spread of COVID-19. And so these guidelines will be in effect for a minimum of 14 days. And some of those mitigation requirements impact our bars and restaurants. They're requiring them to close at 11 p.m., no indoor seating or congregating inside, no indoor service at bars or restaurants, no seating of multiple parties at one table. They're asking them to require reservations. Meetings and social events and gatherings will be limited to 25 people. So that's going to affect city council, and I'll get to that in a little bit, or 25% of the room capacity. And we have posted these requirements on social media for the city of Kankakee and our website. So if you have questions, feel free to go to those sources for information. We are still in phase 4 of the Restore Illinois plan. We have not went back to 3. Some people were asking about that. If there's any questions for business owners, we have posted the information again on the city's website. And I want to remind everyone that we do have COVID-19 testing available throughout our community. Aunt Martha's, which is located at 1777 East Court Street in Kankakee, has expanded their hours for testing. No appointment is needed. Those hours are from Tuesday through Fridays from 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. You can call 877-692-8686, and I'll repeat that number, 877-692-8686. 8686. Or you can visit Aunt Martha's on the website at www.auntmarthas.org for more information. A new update in regard to Aunt Martha's is that they will come to you. They have a new mobile COVID-19 testing unit, and we're going to talk with Kenny a little bit more about that in the broadcast. So in terms of our committee meetings, I just want to remind everyone that City Council and all committee meetings will continue to broadcast on Comcast Local Channel 4, the City of Kankakee's YouTube channel and website. I want to thank my IT team, the city's team, just for the work that they've done. I really think it's important to make sure that the community has access to their government and to be able to know what's going on. And so we've done a lot of work in the last few years to make sure that we provide these platforms so that you all can stay updated. Our city calendar is also updated and posted every month on the website under the government tab. So I haven't even spoken with City Council yet. I'm planning to send this out in updates, but the mitigation again started today. I usually send my updates to the City Council and the department heads on Friday. But due to the recent mitigation efforts, we are going to have to go back to a Zoom platform. Right now, to be indoors is 25 people or less. There's 14 City Council members. I think I have about 12 to 15 department heads, and then myself and the attorney, the clerk, the transcriptionist, and so we're going to be well over that number, and that's not even including the public. So we will get some information out in the next, actually tomorrow, or the next few days, because we don't have City Council until the first week of September, but we'll get some information out in the next few days. We want to make sure that we adhere to those indoor crowd capacity guidelines. So with that being said, public comments will then be submitted again to the public comment at citykankakee-il.gov email by 3 p.m. the day of the meeting, and then they'll be read during the City Council meetings. Right now, I think that we're probably okay with committee meetings. We don't usually get that large of a crowd. But we will monitor that and make adjustments as needed. Again, with COVID-19, we have to be flexible. We don't always have answers right up front, but we must be flexible and work together as we navigate through the pandemic. So with vehicle stickers, we have now closed the drive-up location. You can purchase them on the second floor in the administration building. Our address is 304 South Indiana Avenue, and our office hours are from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. So again, second floor in the administration building. As of August 1st this year, per city ordinance, the stickers are now $70. So they do double. And if you are written a ticket, there's a cost associated with the ticket as well. We've been getting complaints about residents placing their stickers in the windshield. So I just want to let you know that it's not just enough to buy the vehicle sticker. You need to adhere it to your windshield so that when the officers are in the area and they're checking, they can see that you do have one. We had some great news about a week or so ago. We received a fast track grant, and I just want to say congratulations to our team and give a shout out to Neil Pigash, who's our city engineer. Neil is very good at writing grants, and we are very aggressive at going after grants. And so during COVID-19, Governor Pritzker released a pot of money, about $25 million, to keep projects moving, keep people working. And so the program was called Fast Track. It was a capital grant. So we were one of the few municipalities to secure $1.8 million. That was the amount we applied for, and that was the amount we received. So we are really excited to be one of the communities across the entire state that did receive funding. Some of the things that will happen with this grant is it's going to expand the downtown streetscape into the north side of Kankakee. So the south side of Schuyler is in the second ward, and the north side of Schuyler is in the first ward. As you all have heard me talk a lot about equity and you know, how money has been allocated throughout the city, the first ward has not seen a lot of investment in terms of capital improvements. So this is going to expand the streetscape. And when people see the streetscape, they think that we're just making it pretty. We are making improvements so that we are compliant with ADA guidelines, and that's addressing our curbs, our sidewalks, the slopes of the street, so that if someone has disabilities, they are able to access and move within the downtown area. We also will be installing some additional lighting for public safety. We will also be implementing bike lanes to extend into this part of the downtown area. The city of Kankakee adopted a bike plan in 2015, so we've been incorporating that plan throughout the city and actually throughout the county to make the city more accessible and bike friendly, which promotes health and wellness and additional modes of transportation. So we're really excited, and of course there will be some beautification with landscaping, but it's a lot bigger than just plantings. One of the other things, we had done an alternate plan in the streetscape for downtown Schuyler that we were not able to do in the first phase of the project, and that was to put in what's called a library green. And so right adjacent to the library on Schuyler Avenue, there's going to be a structure built there that will allow for some shade for people to sit. And there'll be some beautification, of course, there as well. But it will provide people an opportunity to kind of relax in the downtown area and kind of take in the sights. One of the things, we didn't have a lot of trees and a lot of shade downtown, and so this will definitely address that issue. So again, really proud of our team, did a great job, and we are excited to be working on this project. You probably saw an article in the paper where River Valley Metro is going to be doing about $4 million of improvement, again, in the first ward at Chestnut and Schuyler. This is going to complement what we're doing on Schuyler Avenue, and we've been in discussions with them for over a year about what that would look like to make sure that what they do complements the city. So that structure will also have lighting and shelter for the riders there. We really wanted to advocate for that project. It's been in the works for a number of years, well before me, but since I've been here, we wanted to definitely advocate, because a lot of the majority of the ridership for River Valley Metro comes from the city of Kankakee, and we want to make sure our residents have a nice, safe, welcoming space when they're waiting to catch a bus. So we're glad to hear that. This funding was supported by the Rebuild Illinois Capital Plan, and it's being used to accelerate shovel-ready projects, so we're ready to get going. One thing to note too, the parts of the city of Kankakee are in an opportunity zone, and that was one of the things I think that helped push our application over the edge, because those are underserved communities where the federal government has set up a program to help encourage investment in those underserved communities. We are going to talk a little bit now about the Living Alternatives Pregnancy Resource Center. They relocated in the city of Kankakee. I had an opportunity to go visit, and first of all, I just want to thank the team at the Pregnancy Resource Center and all of the volunteers. There are a lot of people that volunteer. The new space is beautiful. It's very welcoming for mothers who are experiencing an unexpected pregnancy, or if they just need resources and guidance. The new location is at 260 South Washington Avenue under the direction of Kristen Lomberger, who says that their goal is to help serve as many as possible in the community. The center fully operates on private donations. Riverside Healthcare donated the building. I want to thank Riverside. They've been great partners. Living Alternatives Pregnancy Center has 12 locations. 10 of them are in the state of Illinois, and we are really fortunate to have them as a resource in our community. For more information about the Pregnancy Resource Center, you can go online at www.pregnancyresourcecenter.org. I held my mingle with the mayor earlier this month at the Pizza Hut on Court Street, right here in our city, and I want to thank the staff for their generosity and hospitality. They had set up a table with balloons and everything. They were excited to have us. So we had a good time and several residents came out. So just want to encourage everybody to come out. If I don't hear from you, I don't know what it is that you're concerned about, and I don't have an opportunity to address it if you don't let me know. So I host a Mingle with the Mayor one Saturday every month. We advertise it on our social media and website, and it allows our residents to come in without an appointment. And you can come and talk to me about whatever you're concerned about. So next month is going to be September 12th, which of course is a Saturday at the Station Street Cafe. And of course, we have to be in the outdoor seating area. That's 11:30 to 1 p.m. Community cleanup, I think we need to schedule more of these. Dave Barron, who lives in the 2nd Ward, hosted a community cleanup in response to some concerns he heard at his neighborhood meeting. I want to thank Dave for his leadership on that. And I think that we should probably have a call to action for every city council team. We have 7 wards to schedule some community cleanups. I think Dave said we collected about 20 to 25 bags of garbage. So I went out, I know a number of people from our team, Lynn in my office, Jasmine, and we all worked together and took a lot of trash off the street. So I think this is something that we can definitely replicate in the other wards. In terms of community events, we have a back to school giveaway and car show on Saturday, September 12th from 2 to 7 p.m. at Old Fair Park in Kankakee. Again, please wear your mask and be mindful of social distancing. More information is on our website regarding events. This particular event is in the 1st Ward at Old Fair Park, and you can contact Alderwoman Cherry Malone Marshall or Alderman Mike Crew for more details. Census, we've got to get our numbers up. I think we were at about 55%. I want to make sure that everybody gets counted in our community. You can do your census by mail. Forms have been mailed out by phone or online at www.2020, and those are numbers, census.gov. It has to now be complete by September 30th. They've moved up the deadline. So we are doing well, moving in the right direction, but we really need to accelerate our progress. So keep in mind that just a few minutes of your time is going to have an impact. Census is tied to federal dollars that we get for our city, the funds that are allocated for education, for infrastructure, for health care, for libraries, services that we use. And so what we do today is going to impact the next 10 years, and I need everybody to get counted. One of the things that we're going to be doing to respond to the low census counts is to go into those neighborhoods where we know that we haven't counted everyone. So we are going to be doing some pop-up census parties, and we did release a flyer today on our social media to let you know where we're going to be in the community. We want these to be fun activities for the community to come out, kids to have a good time. We're going to have, some of these will have DJs and we'll have snacks and games, and we just want everybody to come out and have a good time and to get counted. Our first pop-up is going to take place this Friday at Steuben Elementary School in the parking lot from 5 to 7 p.m. So we want everyone to come out, get counted. We want to meet you and want everybody to have a good time. So at this time, we're going to talk about COVID-19 mobile testing. And Kenny's been very patient. I want to thank you, Kenny, again for joining us. We know that Ann Martha's in Kankakee has expanded COVID-19 testing operations, and you now have a mobile unit. This is really beneficial for our population, particularly those who have mobility issues, or if people are too busy to schedule. So can you tell us a little bit about the mobile testing unit?
Absolutely, and thank you, Mayor, again for your support in us continuing to expand all our ability to conduct our COVID testing campaign. So we were able to procure 2 mobile units. One is actually a passenger van, and another one is a pretty large trailer that actually has an exam room or an exam table actually on it. And what we wanted to do was to really, because we haven't received such large amounts of requests to conduct testing offsite, that we wanted to really extend folks the ability to do that. So what we're going to be doing, and we actually have already started, is to promote it, to allow folks to know that we are available to come to their sites, as you stated, folks that have perhaps mobility issues. When you were talking about 42 community outreach, that would be one group that we would definitely like to work with, because folks experiencing homelessness have mobility issues, have transportation challenges, and we want to make sure that that doesn't prevent them from knowing their status and from learning more about how to social distance and what are the things that they need to do to really take care of themselves. Even large employers, we are actually have been reached by large employers who want to make sure that perhaps they have 3 shifts and they want to make sure that all of their shifts are counted and have access to the unit and to the services. And or even rural areas, folks that have perhaps just difficulty in accessing more urban settings, we want to make sure that they also have access to that. Today, for example, we were able to conduct a pretty successful campaign. We were at the city of Moments, and we were there for only 3 hours, and we did about 60 tests. So we have the ability to do a whole lot of that. When we come to you, when we can set it up as a drive up or as a walk up. It's just a matter of just letting us know what the volume that you expect is. And I'm always available to answer a lot of questions that people may have about how to set it up, for whom, what hours are best, what is the registration process. It is no different than it is at the clinic, where you still fill out a short registration form. If you don't have insurance, we can still test you at no charge. We just want to make sure that, especially to the point of the positivity rate having increased, and how that, as you described, really has an impact on the entire city and how the entire city operates. We want to make sure that everybody has a test, that everybody has an understanding of their status, because as we spoke about the last time you had me on, in the absence of a vaccine and in the absence of a cure, the only thing we have is a test. So we want to make sure that we're doing that.
Okay. We know school is starting back for mostly everyone, and I know that Aunt Martha's provides a multitude of services, not just COVID-19 testing, and we're certainly grateful that you do provide that testing. But what are some of the other resources that our families can become aware of, so that if they need services or supports, we can get them directed to Aunt Martha's?
Absolutely. So our Kankakee Health Center, we do the back to school and the sports physicals, and we have them available right now. So I would encourage, especially when families have more than one child, and many of them tend to do, that they are actually able to have all the children seen at the same time, as well as tested for COVID. So we have those available. And we're actually encouraging parents who sometimes are more worried about having the children go through the physical, that they also have to go through physicals every year, just as adults, especially when they're actually caretaking of those children. So we want to make sure that everybody in the family is participating in their annual physical and continuing to test for COVID, and continue to enjoy all the services that we provide. We have behavioral health, which is a service of most importance to our community. We have seen, actually, since you and I spoke last, a spike on that. And it is really related to the anxieties that a whole lot of folks are experiencing as a result of the uncertainty and the isolation that all of this brings about. And so we continue to develop capacity to make sure that we're meeting that demand as well.
Kenny, can you talk a little more about behavioral health? I know that you all have done some work in addictions. You still do work with that?
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you brought up a good point. COVID-19, I think it speaks to what Chief was saying. We hadn't had, many homicides. And then recently, we had quite a few. One was a domestic related type issue. And so we know that people are very uncertain. People are on edge. People are isolated and depressed. There's a number of issues going on. So are you all providing counseling? Are you providing medication? If people need to have medication, what are you providing there at Aunt Martha's?
So, as part of our integrated care, which is really looking at, as you described, primary care, but also mental health and substance abuse, we do all of that. And specific to mental health and behavioral health, we do have psychiatrists, we do have behavioral health specialists and therapists. So we have all of those components that if in fact medication is needed, continued therapy is needed, continued work with psychiatry is needed, all of that is available to anyone who needs it. And yeah, we are seeing definitely an increase because, anxiety and depression, which go hand in hand oftentimes, are very much reactive, right? Are very much about what's going on beyond having a chemical component to them. And so a lot of them require all of those things. And so we do a whole battery of tests to find out what is the best combination of those therapies that can help serve and meet the needs of any particular person.
I know that we have Helen Wheeler here. Jackie Haas has been the executive director of Helen Wheeler for a number of years, and she does great work with her team.
She sure does.
But oftentimes we hear that it's very difficult to get in to see a psychiatrist. So we know that there are counselors available and psychologists, but the psychiatrists are the doctors who can actually prescribe the medication. And we've heard about wait times, for several weeks before someone can get in and see a psychiatrist. So what does the wait time look like at Aunt Martha's in terms of psychiatry?
So one of the things that we implemented early on as a result of COVID was telehealth. And telepsych we've had for years, by the way. But telehealth is something that we were able to implement quickly enough. Primary care physicians can also prescribe. What we are doing, especially with our integrated care model, is we look at psychiatrists when we have an issue of acuteness, an issue that is very critical. Once it's seen by the psychiatrist and it's stabilized, then it's moved down to the primary care physician. But either service is now the capacity for us to actually deliver that, and including therapy, has increased through technology. So our ability to do telehealth, telecounseling, and telepsych really brings us an augmented capacity to make sure that wait times are not that long.
Okay. You said you've seen an increase with behavioral health. Are you seeing it with children, adults, seniors, all populations?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone. Because everyone is affected. I mean, it is a family issue, right? It's not just a person's mental health issue. It becomes a family issue. It becomes an issue of functioning, of interacting, of being able to go to work, of being able to go to school, of being able to care, provide, respond, and all of that. So it is something that affects everyone, yes.
Okay. We have a question.
Sure.
I think this is Alderwoman Malone Marshall. She asked about the fast results, COVID-19 tests. They have a quicker turnaround. Are those coming to the area anytime soon? I know they do have them, Alderwoman Malone Marshall, at the hospital. I know they can only do a certain number a day, but I know Phil Campick is really good about having us come out, the mayors come out to the hospitals very regularly. And the last time we went over, probably within the last 6 weeks, he did share that they do have those rapid tests. So Kenny, do you all provide those rapid tests at Aunt Martha's?
So we are actually in the process of looking at what is the best, the most reliable one that we can actually provide. They are costlier. And so we're also trying to figure out, are these also covered within whatever health insurance programs there are? And we also want to make sure that at the very least, those that need it the most are actually getting it. Having said that, actually, the turnaround for the regular self-swabbing test has actually decreased. There was a period there that there was such an overload and such a demand that the waiting period was up to 7 days. Now it's anywhere from 72 hours and up. So it's still pretty fast, considering what it was before. But we are still looking at the technology that rapid testing has to offer.
Okay.
And as I can assure you, as soon as we get that and it is available, I'll let your office know so that you can actually help us promote it as well as you have. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. We'd be more than happy to do that. The University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign is testing COVID-19 saliva tests, which can be game-changing, as top health officials are stating. So wanted to get your thoughts on that, if you have any feedback for us.
Yeah, like we spoke last time, technology has really worked rapidly when it comes to this pandemic, which is great to hear. And when we have academic institutions also doing research and trying to figure out what are the most reliable and fastest ways to getting results, this now has come up as a new tool, as a new technology. It also was at Yale University. We're looking at it as well. We're looking at how fast can it be actually distributed, how fast can our labs begin to understand how to test for it, and what are some of the protocols around it too. So as soon as it is available, we want to also be able to provide it to our patients.
Okay, very good. So there is a number that people can call if they want to reserve the mobile unit, correct?
Correct. And so, sure, absolutely. It is 708-747-7441. And that, I can assure you, Mayor, is my direct line. So folks, and that is how I'm, for the time being, really managing the demand and the scheduling, and it's going pretty successful. We want to make sure that we are going to where we're needed and testing as many folks as we are. We're doing it in increments of 2 to 3 hours. We want to also be mindful of the staff and giving them a break because they're traveling a lot. But like today, having 60 folks in 3 hours, that's pretty successful. But I can assure you, when we time it, we can do up to 100 in that time frame. So again, 708-747-7441. Let us know where you're needing us to come, and we'll come. We're actually going to coordinate with your office as well and come to some of the events that you're having coming up, and make ourselves available and visible to your community as well.
Kenny, I want to thank you for taking the time. You were very patient while I gave updates to the community on a number of topics.
Very informative update. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the work that you're doing, so thank you.
Thank you for being with us here tonight and the work that you all do at Aunt Martha's, and we're looking forward to partnering with you all to get out to the community and provide this additional testing. So be well.
You too.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you. All right, everybody. I don't want to go too long, so I just wanted to answer. There was a couple things here. Jennifer had a question about, is it possible to reach out beyond just downtown Kankakee and beautify other locations where people tend to visit? Maybe improving the playground at the park on Interest and Chestnut, which is completely washed out. The state park could be transformed. I've seen kids playing basketball. What about updating their courts? So Jennifer, I want to thank you for your question. First of all, many communities focus on downtown because that's the heart of your city. And if you can build a strong base in your downtown, it tends to branch out into the rest of the community. So that's why a lot of communities start with downtown. The previous mayor had done some good work with starting to revitalize downtown Kankakee. Many people didn't realize that downtown Kankakee on Schuyler is 5 blocks and not just 2 blocks, the 1 and 200 blocks of South Schuyler. So when I became mayor, I wanted to take a look at what that true footprint was for downtown on Schuyler Avenue, and it actually goes from Station Street all the way to Locust Street on the north side. So that's why I was very adamant when we had the TIF funding left over in the downtown TIF to try to do a streetscape project that would cover the entire downtown. Of course, when we went out to bid and got prices back, we didn't have enough money to do all 5 blocks. So we were able to do 3 blocks. But with this fast track grant that we just received of $1.8 million, we will now be able to include those additional 2 blocks. Another thing that I want you to be aware of, Jennifer, is that whenever we are bringing in development and investors, so like with the Tractor Supply store out at exit 308 across from the Walmart, there's a gateway signage project that's going to be starting at exit 312 on Court Street, which is the entrance into our community. Anytime anytime that we have developers, investors come in and they want to do a project, they are required to adhere to landscaping standards. That's part of what our planning committee and zoning team looks at to make sure that they beautify the space that they're in, so that will provide beautification in other areas as investment comes to other areas. Let me see if I got your other thing. In terms of the parks, the city of Kankakee does not have jurisdiction over the parks. This is a common myth. Many people are not aware. If you look at your tax bill, each entity taxes you, and the Kankakee Valley Park District is a taxing entity. They have their own board. The only park that the city of Kankakee owns is the Martin Luther King Park, which is located between Merchant and Maple Street. So all the other parks in the area are owned by the Kankakee Valley Park District. We don't have jurisdiction over those parks as a city. And then the state park, keyword state, is owned by, is under the jurisdiction of the state of Illinois. So the Department of Natural Resources oversees upkeep and those types of things tied to the state's parks, which is the state's property. So I just wanted to make sure that I did get to your question and address those things. And thank you for your interest. We are working really hard to move our city forward in terms of growing with additional businesses and amenities so that people enjoy the community. And with those projects, like I said, comes beautification, comes landscaping standards, so that as people move in and take up space in terms of their business or their development, that they also are being responsible to make sure that it is appealing when they come into the community. So I want to thank you again. David said the census is as important as voting. I agree. Again, we are excited to get out into the community and host these pop-up parties. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. The next Kankakee Chats will be back on Thursday, which will be September 24th. I have to look at my calendar. September 24th at 7:30 p.m. You'll be able to tune in for additional updates. I want to just encourage everyone to be well. On the agenda at the last city council meeting, there was an ordinance that I put on first reading that came from the state of Illinois about masks. And the city does not have to adopt that ordinance. Our attorney shared that during the meeting. I wanted to provide the city council an opportunity to review it. If we don't adopt it, it can be enforced by other entities such as our local law enforcement and our health department. So with that being said, you know, it's not about enforcing and fines and that sort of thing. I just want to make sure that we are compliant, and I'm still seeing people coming into buildings. I saw a FedEx person walking out of the administration building today with no mask on, so I had a conversation with him. But it's really about just making sure that we're compliant so that we can reduce the spread of COVID-19. So please wear your mask. Please be mindful of social distancing. Let's keep each other safe, and I look forward to talking with you all again next month. Be well.